Happy Monday, beautiful people, and welcome to the R&D show. We back. It's your boy Shad, and I'm holding it down once again for the R&D show. Um, Hopefully, I'll get Ryan in here maybe next week. He has a lot going on, a lot of good stuff going on, but he's been busy. So I wanted to be sure that I gave us a video. So hopefully y'all feeling good, feeling great. There's a lot that has transpired since the last video that I made. There's just a lot going on in the world in general. So I'm really hoping that everybody is feeling blessed, highly favored, and doing what they need to do to take care of self. I know we take care of our families and we're checking on our friends and we do all of these things, but what are we doing to make sure that we're taking care of self? So hopefully you are all doing things that is self-full. It is not selfish to put yourself first, and it is not selfish to be self-full. So hopefully you are doing something that is self-full and filling your cup, mind, body, soul, and spirit. Amen. Um, and hopefully everybody had a great fourth. We call it the fourth, and that's about it because our celebration is Juneteenth. So happy fourth or happy off day or whatever the case may be. So hopefully everybody enjoyed that day and whatever festivities you did with friends and family. So let's jump into one of our favorite things to do, which is Melody Mondays. And, watch this Saturday's episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville. And Melody was not on the episode, but was mentioned in the episode. But of course, you will be mentioned in the episode. I mean, it's Melody, so it's to be expected. But before I get into that, I definitely no. We'll just go there. So pretty much, we start off with Nell having a conversation with Chris about setting boundaries with the children and giving them money and things of that nature. Same conversation that Nell had with Chris last season. And sticking to the topic of just Nell and Chris, she did have all the kids over. And I don't know, it's just very interesting because I think it's easy to just be like, this is how we're going to operate moving forward. But it seems like she was trying to convince herself and Chris more of how they should move forward instead of just being intentional about pretty much saying, you guys are our kids, you're now adult children, and unless it's an emergency, we will no longer be your financial lifeline. Like, it has to be an emergency or has to do with the grandkids, and that's about it. If it's not about that, then we cannot support adults. We cannot take care of adults. We have set you up for success. And you can tell that they have probably went above and beyond to make sure that their children were set up for success, got them started, which is such a beautiful thing because everybody ain't able at the end of the day. Everyone doesn't have parents that can put them into positions to win. You know what I mean? And if you're able to do that, it is such a beautiful blessing to bestow upon your children who hopefully use that as an advantage and not a disadvantage. And the problem is some people use it as a disadvantage and end up, doing bad things or not living a productive life of value, moral standards, integrity, and success, overall success. And you if you watched last season, you kind of heard some of their stories, Nell and Chris's children's stories. And again, there can be pros and cons when it comes to taking care of your children for such a long time. But I feel as if you do have the means, then there's a way to do that and still educate them and prepare them and equip them with the tools and knowledge for them to be able to prosper and take care of themselves effective and efficiently and not be 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, expecting you to pay their bills, expecting you to pay their rent, expecting for you to do these certain things that you had already been doing to get them in this place of success. And I feel like that's what probably Nell and Chris have been doing for such a long time, is just really, you know, taking care of them because they feel like they could and they wanted to, and they took care of them. But at some point, I can understand it becoming, feeling like a burden, or feeling like, okay, my well is kind of running dry, or I feel like my cup is not overflowing, or it's half empty, or it's half full, however you want to describe it. At the end of the day, I'm feeling like I'm losing myself while trying to continue to help them find themselves and to pour into them. And the conversation didn't have to be as long as it was if the boundary was intentional, and it was just pretty much, from here on out, it's no, I love y'all. And there's a lot of love in no, but I have to say no. We've done everything that we can to make sure that y'all are set up for success. Now we want to see y'all just fly. And again, emergency issues and the grandchildren, that's different, but you guys are adults. So it just seemed like, Nell's trying to convince herself more so than convince the children. And on top of that, I do love the fact that they segued into the therapy conversation. And Nell's initial reaction wasn't a positive reaction. It's like people can be so quick to tell other people like, hey, you need to go to therapy, you need to do this, you need to do that. But when the tables are turned and it's thrown back at you, and your reaction is not positive when it comes to, and you're not more welcoming to it, then that also says a lot about that individual. I'm a firm believer that the advice that we give to other people should be the same advice that we've given to ourselves, and the steps that we've taken, you know what I mean, to better ourselves. And of course, she finally grabs onto the idea of doing it, because we'll see them in family therapy next episode. But we just have to get out of this mindset of thinking that just because we're a particular age or we're at a certain point of our life, that therapy is not a necessity. If you can do all of these other things, you can work out, you can eat healthy, you can go on diets, you can go on vacations, for self-care. You go to the spa, you get your nails done, you get your feet done, you get massages. Like, if you can do all of these things to take care of yourself, therapy should also be included in that routine of mental wellness, of overall wellness, of life wellness, no matter how old you are, because there could still be some things that you're unpacking, that you may have experienced 5 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe even last year. It could even be 6 months ago, whatever the case may be. But overall family therapy, depending on the dynamics of that family, is also important, because you don't know if you caused some type of childhood trauma to your children, um, because you've only done the best that you could with what you had. And maybe your children feel a certain type of way. And until they understand you as a person, and they understand your story, and they understand your experiences and why you did what you did, then they will understand you better and be able to respect you in a different way without holding some type of ill will or a grudge or having resentment. And so it's going to be really good to see them in family therapy, because, again, that's going to open the door and give a lot of the viewers permission to do the same in their family, and to go and do that work that might be needed. So I think that's a beautiful thing that we're going to witness. So going from there, let's talk about, Chris. He's showing Sonny and Moses Martell's rental property, and they're having a discussion, and also just talking about, does Destiny know that you're doing this, and things of that nature. And it's like, no, I don't feel like I owe Destiny that conversation. Some people may disagree. Some people may feel like, hey, if I'm your friend first, um, please give me a heads up and let me know that you're working with people that I don't relationship with. And then some people may feel like business is business. I don't have to have conversations with you about business. Me personally, when it comes to business, I'm like, business is business, as long as we're not crossing the line of it being, conversations had about this person, or, me entertaining certain conversations and narratives, then business can just be business. And I can still be loyal to my friend. And my friend should also understand that business is business. But I think the problem is sometimes, you know, you might have friends that don't understand that. And so it could be a situation. But again, this is just a cast of people. So who's to say that they are like really friends and not just, you know, an ensemble cast just working together, co-workers, and that's it. So that was that. Of course, Martell arrives and they go into conversation. And for some reason, this thing just has a mind of its own. It's crazy. But for some reason, I don't know, Martell is just, he's stuck on this whole picking a side narrative. Instead of allowing people to be neutral, he's kind of stuck on this, hey, you're not picking a side type of thing. And it seems like he's also stuck on believing that he is right in the situation that transpired. And it's kind of, at this point, it's old. And we don't want to continue to hear that story. Accountability is important. And I feel like he just keeps trying to convince otherwise. But it's like, sir, you did something. Like he had a whole conversation with Stormy, and Stormy's like, hey, I got charged with the same thing as you. As if that's just like, some can see it as downplaying the situation. Oh, I got charged with the same, thing as you did. Harassment, communication, whatever the case may be. But his charge is a big deal. The thing that he did is a big deal. And for him to still make light of it is continuing to show a lot about who he is and the growth that he has not experienced yet. And not only that, it also continues to show why Melody will not film with him. And for him to not understand why she wouldn't want to be in the same room with him and even question that is kind of weird. And for anybody else to think, oh, I mean, she wouldn't want to be in a room with you. I had to ask her. She said she's not coming. It's kind of weird too, because you should already know her stance and you should be able to understand that stance based off of what has transpired between those two. So yes, I think about the comments from the last video and how, some of you were talking about, Stormy putting on this front and, she does one thing on television, but behind the scenes, it's a different Stormy. She really doesn't care for Mel, blase, blase, whatever the case may be. This scene kind of would give you a little bit of that. But again, I want to make it clear that when I am doing, or when the R&D show is doing our review on Melody Mondays of Love and Marriage Hip Hop, I'm sorry, Love and Marriage Huntsville, all of these, listen, these shows, you got hip hop, but nah, when we're doing our review, it's strictly based off of what we're experiencing while we're watching the show. We don't go and do behind the scenes research. We don't go and follow these people's private lives. We don't go and look up stuff because we are businessmen. We have lives outside of this. We have responsibilities, and we don't have time to go and see if somebody's being real or fake to someone. We're just basing everything off of what we see and giving our perspective. So please understand that. Please respect that. Um, please accept that as well. And make sure that you keep that in mind when you are sharing your thoughts and leaving your comments, which we'd love to read and respond to. But this is our stance, and we come from a place of being honest in our opinions and in our stance. And hopefully that's valued and that's received. So yes, that's just where we're at. So keep that in mind. Um, but yeah, so this just gave me a little bit of like Stormy, like questionable a little bit, but we'll see how it plays out. Oh, and not to mention some some of the comments that were left also kind of fill me in as far as, you know, what happened at Stormy's store or her warehouse or whatever. A content creator showing up at her business. And again, we don't know the full story. There's going to be one side, the other side, and the truth. So it's kind of difficult to know what the full truth is and why Stormy reacted the way that she did just based off of hearsay. And I don't know about a certain recording that took place, but again, there's things that happen behind the scenes. There's things that happen on social media. There's a lot of things that can transpire that can unfortunately trigger people to react a certain type of way. And again, you also don't want to be this person that is creating mess. You know what I mean? Creating a bigger issue for yourself, stirring the pot, just doing certain things to antagonize someone and then expect for them to not have a reaction based off of whatever it is. And again, I'm not justifying anyone doing anything that is life threatening or doing anything that can, you know, be detrimental to someone's their character, their business, um, their livelihood in general. So I'm not on no one side in that situation. I'm just speaking in general that there's always an overall story and there's always one side, the other side, and the truth. And I got some of what happened, you know, from all of our amazing, all of our amazing. We got to get y'all name because I'll be trying to figure out like we got to get y'all name. But yeah, from you guys sharing your thoughts and your opinions and the information that you had. So we got some more information about the Stormy and I think Black Titanic or something like that. That's her name. Never heard of her before, never seen her before. So I have no idea. But we appreciate y'all filling in the gaps. Filling in the gaps is helpful for us, and we're able to, again, create our own perspective and point of view from there. So that was that. Let's go into Sonny and Moses sitting down with Kimmy and Maurice. It's a very interesting conversation. Moses, I mean, I could already tell that Moses probably had a rough patch in his life, but 8 years consecutively just in prison and then went before that is a lot. That's a lot to change someone. Time, we know each day is something different in life in general. So imagine missing out on 8 years. A lot changes in 8 years. So it is good that he has been able to bounce back and do some things, you know, to grow. But it also makes sense. His story also makes sense as to why he latched on to Sonny so quickly. It makes perfect sense, you know, listening to him say that he lost this person, he lost this person, he lost this person. All these people that he genuinely loved, he lost while he was away. That can do something to anyone. That can do something to anyone, you know. That can change and shift you in the way that you show up in people's lives, the way that you react and respond to situations and things of that nature. And so it was clear from day one of him being on the show that he craved attention. He needed attention. He needed someone to just be there when he needed them to be there. Not when they wanted to be there, but when he needed them to be there. And that was his biggest thing with Destiny is he felt like she wasn't there when he needed her. And she wasn't giving him the attention that he desired and craved. And for some they can be like, oh, this is a grown man, you're doing too much. But again, it's important to understand people's stories and their experiences because a lot of times that's what mold them into who they are. That's what helps create them moving forward in their mindset. Now, can that change? Yes. Therapy, once again, go back to that. It can be helpful with unpacking those things and giving you a different outlook and perspective on your life and on your journey. regardless of the trials and tribulations that you may have been through. But this is where he's at right now. And so you have someone like Sonny who came in with a strong presence, with the leadership presence, and just took hold of everything, saw him, understood and recognized what that need was, and was able to fulfill that need. He latched onto that. And that is why their relationship, I feel like that's a reason why they're, one of the reasons at least why their relationship formed so quickly, is because there was a need there and she was able to fulfill what that need was. And he was able to see that she's fulfilling that need. And so he gravitated toward her faster than most people would be like, he should have. But it seems like it's working for them at this point in time. And so we see them, share their story about, St. Louis and living in an environment that is not safe, it seems like. I'm not sure what part of, the north side she was saying, I think, of St. Louis. It's just an environment that's safe, not safe, but mm, I've passed through St. Louis before and it was very interesting. It was, from where I was at, it was kind of dirty from what I remember. And it was a lot of activity going on, but I don't know what all of St. Louis has to offer. And, sometimes what we do is we'll pick up and we'll move to a better area. We'll move to the suburbs or we'll move somewhere where we feel like it's a safer part of the city. But I guess they would know better than we would, or anyone out there. Maybe you've lived in St. Louis or you know people that live in St. Louis, you would know better than I would exactly what all St. Louis has to offer. And so they're considering, of course, moving to Huntsville, Alabama, because they feel like it's a safer place to raise children and business wise and things of that nature. So they're talking to Kimmy and Maurice, and it's a very, it's an interesting conversation because they kind of, one thing I like about Kimmy and Maurice is they do listen to understand, and they're able to dissect a situation and they're able to unpack it a certain way. And a lot of people aren't able to verbalize what it is that they are receiving. And when you're listening to understand something, it's easier for you to have a perspective that makes sense to the greater masses. Some people can deliver it a certain type of way, and then other people can receive it and unpack it a certain type of way. That gives you more of an educational approach behind why this is the way that it is, why things went the way that they did. Oh, this is why you are where you are. And so that is one of the things that I can appreciate about them, is they're able to articulate something that maybe Moses wasn't able to articulate in a manner of really getting his point across, but they understood it exactly and could even sit in their confessional and articulate, okay, now I understand him. Now I understand them. And I understand their situation. And so it's always good to be able to talk with people that can bring a greater perspective and a greater learning and knowledge into the situation to help you even understand yourself. And again, this is another reason why therapy is important, because therapists are those people. They're able to articulate what it is that you have experienced and are processing and need to unpack in order to heal, and then give you the tools and knowledge to help support what that is. Um, and I have to say, the Black family, and I've said this before, has been conditioned to believe that, God is your therapist. You go to God for prayer. Just pray about it, baby. You'll be all right. Pray about it and walk by faith. Walk by faith and not by sight. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for and things not seen. So they'll throw out all of these things, but forget about the most important part, which is faith without works is dead. Your faith is prayer, and that's the spiritual side of things. But your works is going and sitting in front of a certified therapist to unpack what it is, to get to the bottom of that trauma so that we can heal those wounds. That's your faith in your works. So if you put it all together, faith without works is dead. Faith with works is alive. And you can be your whole and full self when you're doing both, because I feel you can't have one without the other. And yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. wanted to throw that in there. But that's kind of like what my takeaway was from this week's episode. On top of, again, millimeters being used in a derogatory negative way, as if millimeters is this mob of people that come to create chaos, as if they are agents of chaos and destruction and have been sent to do Melody's dirty work. You know, Martell talked about that, and Stormy talked about it again on this episode, saying that Black Titanic, I think that's what you guys said her name is a millimeter, and she came to, create chaos. It does suck to see that this is the narrative that's going around, or how, people are choosing to define this group of people that literally have genuinely showed up out of a place of concern for Melody, and not out of a place of wanting to be angry, vengeful, malicious, crazy people. And again, control what you can control. Not everyone has the same intentions. So you may have a few bad apples in the bunch who label themselves as millimeters, but they're doing some crazy things. But on the flip side of that, you have all of these other people who are full of love and light. So I just think people have to be very careful about, creating this narrative when it comes to her fans. But who am I to speak? I don't know everybody. I haven't been through what some of the cast has been through with whoever they've been through. So who knows? Moving on from that, I want to send condolences to Kiki's family and all of her friends. We have spoken about Kiki on the show before, and we stand by whatever we said about Kiki, because we never talked bad about her. Again, we just gave our perspective off of, how she showed up on the show, and the way that we have been rooting for Kiki and giving her the benefit of the doubt, and just wanting to see her grow and be better and do better. And so it's sad that A Beautiful Life has been cut short. And there's so many narratives and stories, surrounding, how she passed away. And that's always very interesting as well, when there's not, just one story. There's this, there's that, but whatever the case may be, she's not here anymore. And there's a family that is going to miss her. There's children involved that aren't going to be able to see their mother anymore. And so sending love, light, and positive energy to that family. Rest in peace, Kiki. And yes, there have been stories that have come out saying that, the family doesn't necessarily want the cast of the show to be at the funeral. And maybe they have their own reasons, who knows? But the family has to also understand that Kiki volunteered herself to be a part of a show, to showcase her life and to show up her authentic self, So her action and behavior was her own personal choice. And no one can control her in the things that she did except for her. And so if she came across a certain type of way that, they didn't appreciate, and then they also didn't appreciate the reaction, the response from, the cast, then that doesn't necessarily make the cast bad people. It also doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't care and care about and love Kiki as well. They were just responding and reacting to whatever they got from her. And again, this is a show that she was not forced to do, that she wanted to be on. And if you don't feel like she was showcased in the best light, then you can only take that up with Kiki. If you're gonna hold anybody accountable, it just has to be her. And allow people that genuinely cared about her and love her, who want to be there to say their goodbyes, to be there. Because I haven't seen anything that was just terrible. I know there were some things going on behind the scenes or whatever the case may be, and she kind of addressed some of that on the opening episode of this season. But other than that, I hadn't seen anything like outrageous about, huge falling outs with cast members or arguments or fights and or not like that. So again, we don't know what happens behind the scenes. There's this side of the story, that side of the story, and the truth. But I think whoever's supposed to be there is going to be there to celebrate her life. So definitely rest in peace, Kiki, and God bless everyone, your entire family and friends. But I think that's about it. I think that's everything that I want to say. If I missed out on anything, y'all just blame my mind on my heart, because I'll be having so much that I want to ramble on about and just talk about and unpack. But I think that's what I wanted to say. So be sure that you drop down in the comments, leave some comments, share your feedback, your thoughts, your opinions, so on and so forth. Thumbs up this video. I appreciate this. Thumbs ups. Subscribe. Oh, shout out to all of our new subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing to the R&D show. We really appreciate it. Be sure to share our videos so that we can get more subscribers. And let's talk. Let's talk down in the comments and let me know how you felt about what I had to say on Melody Mondays and just whatever else is going on. But thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take care of yourself and each other. God bless. Peace out.